Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Monday, October 26th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi, and the big story tonight is the weather. Plenty of gusty winds in our area and a Santa Ana-driven wildfire to our north. All day, the Silverado fire has been burning in Orange County. It's in the Santiago Canyon area near Irvine. It has forced fire crews to order evacuations for 70,000 people. And this video was shared by the Orange County Fire Authority. 4,000 acres have burned. No word yet on the cause. 2 firefighters were critically burned and are in the hospital tonight. Fire crews are telling people to leave and are worried homes are still at risk.
Fire is going to continue to cross and encroach upon the homes in multiple areas. So our priority right now is getting people evacuated and out of the path of the fire.
And that was a firefighter from the Orange County Fire Authority. Forecasters called for a wind event like this and warned that it could lead to this exact situation. Preemptive power outages were enacted throughout California today to prevent any sparks that might cause more fires. And San Diegans know all too well that late October can still bring destructive fires. 17 years ago this week, the Cedar Fire, one of the most destructive in state history, decimated parts of our county. Today's weather conditions are why SDG&E preemptively cut power to communities in Fallbrook, Vista, Pala, and Bonsall. More than 2,500 North County residents are affected. SDG&E's website says the power could be out until 5 p.m. tomorrow.
It's an unfortunate thing when you have to shut down power, but I think we've come accustomed to needing power shut down to protect a whole region of area that might have that potential of high winds, knocking down power lines, starting a vegetation fire. I think the momentary discomfort of not having electricity, which could be a result of not having a big fire, is the better outcome.
And Choi says the red flag warning is in effect until Tuesday evening and asks residents to be prepared ahead of time in case of any evacuations. SDG&E plans to keep updating its website with changes. And even near the coast, the wind picked up today. This is what it looked like in Encinitas, where trees were shaken by today's gusts. We're keeping an eye on the latest conditions and wildfires, and we'll have updates on both later in the newscast. A big development in Washington tonight. The Senate is about to do something it's never done before. That is confirm a Supreme Court justice just 1 week before an election. Republicans ended a filibuster by Democrats over the weekend, clearing the way for a final vote on Amy Coney Barrett's nomination. She would replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who died last month. Republicans and President Trump were heavily criticized for rushing her nomination so close to an election. And as early voting continues in San Diego, KPBS is planning a special night of election coverage next Tuesday. Until then, you can get your ballot organized with the KPBS voter guide, and you can get information on all the candidates and ballot measures unique to your neighborhood. Just click the Election 2020 link on our homepage to get started. One local assembly seat features a rematch from the March primary. Amita Sharma tells us who is running to represent communities stretching from North County to San Diego.
Mainshine touts his record of authoring more than 100 bills signed into law, dealing with mental health to homelessness to small businesses. The four-term assemblyman also backed a slew of police reform bills, including a mandate that the Attorney General investigate police killings of unarmed suspects. He left the Republican Party in 2019, a move he thinks voters will understand.
I was very uncomfortable with Donald Trump and everything about him. And then when I saw how he was being enabled as well, it was something that I just felt that I needed to stand up for. And I'm really glad I did.
Mainshine slammed President Trump's handling of the pandemic while praising Governor Gavin Newsom's response. His Republican opponent, Cutter, says Trump's management of the pandemic, quote, is what it is, but adds that Newsom has done poorly. The employment lawyer says she's running to, quote, correct societal disparities in public education and to help stop California's spiraling cost of living.
And let's talk about why that is. It's not just expensive because we live in a gorgeous sunny state like California. There's a lot of regulations that are placed on various industries which make the cost of housing and the cost of goods so expensive.
The 77th Assembly District includes Rancho Santa Fe, Fairbanks Ranch, Poway, and some areas in San Diego. Amita Sharma, KPBS News.
The price of keeping a roof over your head is on the ballot. Prop 21 would make changes to how cities handle rent control. Jackie Botts from Cal Matters explains the ins and outs of the state measure.
This fall, you'll start going through your ballot and see rent control. Sound familiar? There's my colleague, Matt, talking about the same proposal back in 2018. 59% of Californians voted against it. So I'm sure you're wondering, what's new this time? I'll explain.
Hi, I'm Jackie Botts, and I cover economic inequality for Cal Matters. I'll explain Prop 21 in under a minute.
California renters typically pay 70% more than renters in other states. It's one of the big reasons nearly 150,000 Californians are unhoused. Last year, California lawmakers passed a state law capping yearly rent increases at around 8% for most housing. Some people think the state law doesn't go far enough, which brings us to Prop 21. Some cities have their own rent control laws, but their power is limited. For example, cities can't enact rent control laws for single-family homes. But Prop 21 would allow cities to enact stricter rent control for almost all rental housing, as long as it's more than 15 years old. Supporters say this will prevent more homelessness and gentrification. Opponents say stricter local rent control will make it unprofitable for landlords to build more housing, which we so desperately need. Plus, California voters already nixed this idea in 2018. On the other hand, the pandemic's financial shock could make people more eager to protect renters. Vote yes on Prop 21 if you want your city to be able to expand rent control. Vote no on Prop 21 if you don't. For more information on Prop 21 and everything on the November ballot, visit calmatters.org.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, President Trump and Joe Biden intensify their campaign travel as the Vice President Pence's staff endures a COVID outbreak. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Questions are still being raised tonight after Border Patrol agents shot and killed a Mexican citizen just feet away from the pedestrian port of entry in San Ysidro. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler tells us advocates are calling for transparency.
On Sunday evening in a light drizzle, people marched in a slow procession to where Border Patrol agents shot and killed a Mexican citizen right at the border fence 2 days earlier. According to a message posted by the San Diego sector station chief, agents were apprehending a man as he was illegally entering the United States.
During the arrest, an altercation ensued, and the agent discharged his firearm, wounding the man.
Customs and Border Protection says that the investigation into the shooting will be led by the San Diego Police Department. But those who attended Sunday's vigil were skeptical that the investigation would be done without the influence or tampering by the agency behind the shooting.
We're here today to reject that type of trauma that gets placed over our communities. And we are here to reclaim our dignity as border community members. To say that we want a thorough, independent investigation, and we want that assurity from the San Diego Police Department. We want those held accountable to be held accountable. And we want transparency in this investigation.
Many there pointed out the similarities between this shooting and the killing of Anastasio Hernandez Rojas by CBP agents 10 years ago at the same port of entry. No agents were held accountable for his death, and CBP agents were heavily involved in the investigation into the shooting. Hernandez Rojas' widow, Maria Puga, addressed the crowd. She said she was very angry that immigration authorities continue to kill people, that they don't stop. This person was a human, same as her husband. His family could still be waiting for him to come home. The San Diego Police Department says that as of Monday afternoon, it has no new updates on the investigation. The Mexican consulate in San Diego also issued a press release over the weekend, saying that it has been unable to locate the family of the man killed and will be monitoring the investigation closely. Maxwell Van Adler, KPBS News.
Even as San Diego County edges closer to more COVID-19 restrictions, patience is wearing thin for parents. We're seeing that right now in the South Bay, where some parents are holding a demonstration outside the Chula Vista Elementary School District. They want to know if they're any closer to sending their kids back to school. And KPBS reporter Joe Hong is live to show us the scene and give us an update on where things stand for that district. Joe.
Maya, before I get to what's going on here today, I want to mention that Vista Unified School District reported its second positive case of COVID-19 since it started in-person learning last week. Now, at Chula Vista Elementary School, parents here, about a dozen of them are gathered here, and they're demanding that the district announce more details on when they plan to reopen schools. I'm here with Eugene Brovic, who's a parent of one child in the district. Eugene, what brought you out here today?
Well, we want a choice. We want equality for all the students in San Diego County, and we want a plan. But give us a choice if you want to return or if you don't. That's it.
Chula Vista Elementary School District had originally planned to start some in-person instruction today, but the district rolled back those plans indefinitely after COVID numbers spiked in the district. Now, the district said they want to see case numbers drop to less than 200 per 100,000 residents over a 14-day period. The teachers union, they want to see every zip code in the district go under that 200, which is challenging because some of the hardest hit zip codes in the county are in this district. Maya, back to you.
Thanks for being out there, Joe. An update now on that wildfire burning to our north. This is the Silverado fire in Orange County. It's burning just east of Irvine and forced evacuations for 70,000 people today. The winds here in San Diego are not as strong, but we should get a break tomorrow. Here's Marvin Gomez with the forecast.
Happy Monday, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to KPBS News. I'm AccuWeather's Marvin Gomez. Let's talk about some of our weather headlines. Those winds slowly decreasing as we head into Tuesday, and temperatures slightly warming up for us into the middle of the work week. And of course, onshore flow will be coming back later this week. Let's talk about some of our current weather alerts. Notice parts of San Diego County under a wind advisory. Those advisories will be in place until late this afternoon. Towards the north, some of those areas under the high wind warning, those won't expire until tomorrow. Right now, we don't have any red flag warnings across San Diego County. However, looking farther up north, places like Riverside, Anaheim, towards LA and Santa Clarita, that's where we do have some of those active warnings. Offshore flow continues at the moment. You can see how those winds leaving California, heading towards the Pacific, have pushed most of the marine layer away from us. Very impressive loop from the satellite and radar earlier today. San Diego County tonight cooling down to 38 degrees across Ramona, 38 across Oceanside as well. Here's a look at our Tuesday. We have that warm breeze across most of the California coastline. Again, those offshore winds, those downsloping winds from the mountains will give us those mild/warm temperatures. Ramona, 74 degrees on Tuesday. Escondido coming up to 77. Here's a look along the coast. Temperatures again gradually getting up to 76 on Tuesday afternoon, 74 on Wednesday, 75 on Thursday. Inland areas warming up into the low 80s for Thursday and Friday as well. Some of the mountains will continue to see those very gusty winds on Tuesday. Temperatures near 54 on Tuesday afternoon, 58 Wednesday, 62 on Thursday, and across the deserts, we're going to be in the 70s Tuesday, Wednesday, but then towards the end of the work week, we will be in the mid to upper 80s. Back to you.
One of San Diego's best-known brands is the latest to declare bankruptcy due to the economic effects of the pandemic. The parent company of Rubio's Coastal Grill is working on a plan to restructure its debt. Rubio started in 1983 as a fish taco stand near Mission Bay and is now a chain with dozens of locations. It's now based in Carlsbad, and Rubio's has closed several of its restaurants in recent months. If all goes according to plan, though, the company will emerge from bankruptcy by year's end. One nonprofit is getting creative to reach underserved communities hit hard by the pandemic. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says the group is hoping to empower local families through a live circus.
It surprises them, delights them, and it kind of perks up the day a little bit.
At Central Elementary School in City Heights, families coming to pick up meals were surprised with a pop-up circus. And it's not just live music and tricks. Performers here are spreading an important message.
We started with the Census 2020, bringing the community to do the census, and now we are doing the neighborhood tour, and we're encouraged the community to get out and vote. Importancia de votar en estas elecciones. We are First Street Circus. We're in a diverse community, so we have to say it in English and Spanish.
The nonprofit Fern Street Circus has been doing pop-ups like this in San Diego parks for years, and during the pandemic, the group is going to food distribution sites at schools to bring some fun in a socially distanced way.
We have been working in support of families who are food insecure, really since mid-May.
There you go, straight up and down. Got it?
And the kids really seem to like it.
Bringing a smile to their faces, that's the biggest pay that we get. Whoa!
Kids have a dream. To be part of that, that's the message for me, because I want to keep them, believe themselves. They can do anything they want. She started when she was 6 years old.
San Diego Unified has around 80 of these food distribution sites open weekly.
So anyone 2 to 18 can come to any of our sites and get a meal. Today's meal has a breakfast for tomorrow, today's lunch, and tonight's supper. These meals are available for every student, every family in San Diego Unified, regardless of their income.
We see them smiling from the window in the car. That's the message we want to, we want to help out everybody, because this is the hard time for everybody.
We saw lots of kids out here today with big smiles, enjoying themselves out here. Now, the street circus, they're planning more of them with San Diego Unified, but the meal distributions, those will continue daily Monday through Friday. In City Heights, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The latest COVID-19 vaccine news comes from Pfizer and involves kids. The drug maker is expanding its vaccine trial to children as young as 12. Pfizer is holding these tests at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. This is the first known vaccine trial to include children. We've heard a lot about clinical trials lately. It's a critical step in developing new medicine, but for decades, studies have mostly recruited white men. KPBS science and technology reporter Shalina Chetlani tells us about work being done to diversify medical research.
Good morning, everyone. We are live. There you go.
11 years ago, when Los Angeles resident Estela Mata was 35 years old, her sister was diagnosed with lupus.
We didn't know what lupus was. Back then, it wasn't really talked about a lot. And she literally almost died. I was born in Mexico, so we came over to the United States when I was 5 years old. And my mom doesn't really read English or speak English, but she wanted to get to learn about it, right? And when we found out that lupus was like 10% kind of, genetic, we're like, oh my gosh, like we need to get more involved into like clinical trials and find out more about our history.
Mata and her sister heard about a National Institutes of Health clinical trial called the All of Us study and enrolled about a year ago in Los Angeles. The $1.5 billion program started enrolling patients in 2018 and hopes to rectify a decades-long problem that most clinical trials have only collected data on white men and not Latinas like Mata.
What's flowing through America's veins is its diversity.
We're talking about precision medicine, right? We're talking about the future of our healthcare and how we're treated. Not everyone, right now, everyone gets treatments in a cookie cutter almost. So if you are, have this illness, take this medication or this treatment plan, and it's not customized to the individual. Not a lot of people participate in clinical trials, especially in the Hispanic Latino community.
Mata says she gave up her genetic information because she thought it would be used to help people of color. Hispanic women are more likely to be affected by lupus compared to white women. But one genetics researcher says the All of Us program is likely not really for all of us.
You can't really talk about science in America without talking about colonialism, whether it's
San Diego anthropologist Kealu Fox, who is from Hawaii, got into genetics to study his indigenous ancestry, but found people like him are often exploited in science.
And then in terms of underrepresented people being, validated or recognized in science, that's kind of unfortunate because there aren't enough PhD carrying brown, black, and indigenous people to represent our interests.
And he says that could happen with the All of Us study, which is funded by billions of taxpayer dollars. The data is open to everyone.
Is it actually going to benefit indigenous black and brown communities in the same way that it's going to benefit a handful of people that work for Pfizer, Merck, GSK, etc.? I don't think so.
Biomedical historian Ben Hurlbut says that's happened before.
What started happening in the 90s was that people started to self-organize into disease advocacy groups and help push forward research by basically making themselves or their children available. The academic researchers would patent the gene and thereby control access to diagnostics and any kind of drugs that might result from it solely, without the involvement of the rare disease group who brought them the resources to do the research in the first place.
In fact, after scientists discovered the gene causing cystic fibrosis in 1989, a rare disease group and NIH-funded researchers partnered to study the condition. Vertex Pharmaceutical used the decades of research to create a therapy that could help 90% of patients, but it cost around $300,000 a year.
When that drug came out, my daughter was in like third grade or something, and one of her best friends had CF and was a candidate for that drug. His mom took on a full-time job in order to pay for the drug. Like that was the sole purpose of her job, was to pay the copay.
More than 270,000 people have signed up or gone through All of Us so far. Hurlbut says the solution to unequal healthcare access isn't easy, but we control the market dynamics, and we could change those. Pharmaceutical companies are on the working group for All of Us study.
It really is important to bring together all of these different voices and resources to make sure that we're building a resource that will really be available to answer this very ambitious call.
But Alyssa Kotler, a spokeswoman for the program, says participants get information before they consent. And she says private-public partnerships in drug discovery have produced life-saving therapies. She says the NIH is aware future treatments from the program may be unaffordable, but she said the NIH doesn't have an answer to that problem yet.
There have been a lot of conversations with different communities to really help us think this through. And really, understand those issues and think about potential solutions.
As for All of Us study participant Estela Mata, she says she's okay with the idea of her data going to a pharmaceutical company if people like her sister, who need the therapies, will be able to afford them. Shalina Chatlani, KPBS News.
The use of renewable energy is surging in California. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson tells us how the trend has picked up steam in the last decade.
Electricity generation from solar power is up more than 2,000% in the last decade. A new report from Environment California Research finds California ranks first in the nation for growth in solar energy production. Friendly political policies get some of the credit.
Policies like the Million Solar Roofs program accelerated solar energy growth starting from the mid-2000s.
California also has the most electric cars and battery charging stations, and it leads the nation in the growth of battery storage capacity since 2010. Green energy advocates say renewable energy is good for the state and good for residents.
The public health consequences and the consequences on our pocketbooks of relying on dirty fossil fuels for energy have actually resulted in real problems in air pollution, in global warming pollution, in the increased frequency and intensity of the wildfires that we're seeing in California.
The increasing use of renewable energies is making it easier for California to wean itself off of fossil fuels, which contribute to climate change. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Updating our top stories, the Senate just voted to confirm Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. And in Orange County, the Silverado fire is burning dangerously close to homes near Irvine. 70,000 people in the Irvine area were told to evacuate. The fire is burning in Santiago Canyon. High winds are expected through tomorrow in the area, though forecasters say the wind here in San Diego will ease tonight. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.